Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are back with another show of The Silent Minority. I am your host, Samoy Sykes, and with me, as always, is Hudson Meadows. Say hello to everyone, brother.
What's happening?
We are really excited to bring this show to you today. And we want to get this started with Black Twitter. This is going to be a consistent segment for us where we take an issue that is just floating around Black Twitter, got a lot of Black people up in arms. And I think we've got a really good one for today. Everyone is asking, how? How could you possibly cheat on Nia Long?
Oh man. Oh man.
So unfortunately, this brother Ime Udoka, and I'm hoping I get that pronunciation right. It might not be
Who
the
cares with what he done did? Who
the
cares?
head coach of the Boston Celtics has been caught up in an issue. He's basically been caught having an illicit relationship with a member of the Boston Celtics organization. He is currently in a relationship with Nia Long. In fact, I believe they share a child together. And literally, before we started recording this episode, the Boston Celtics have announced that they are going to be suspending him for 1 year, and they are going to essentially reconsider the relationship during that time. So it's not even guaranteed that the brother is going to be able to hold on to his job. Hudson, your thoughts?
And as usual with these things, the rumors are flowing, right? The rumors are flowing. So I mean, rumors of hey, they think it's more than one woman,
Hmm.
within the organization. Supposedly, one of these women, if not the main woman they seem to be discussing, is supposedly the wife of one of the team presidents or executives or something like that. Um, there's rumors that the two, Yume, whatever his name is, and Nia Long were separated
Hmm.
already, and what it boils down to is we have no idea what the nature of their relationship was in the first place. Um, Nia Long had been interviewed before about why they weren't married yet, and she has some very interesting takes on marriage in general. So, it leads
Absolutely.
me to believe that we really don't know her takes on relationships in general. So I don't really know what the scope of their relationship was. Possibly he wasn't cheating. Maybe this was some arrangement because I haven't really heard anything come from Nia Long. I haven't seen anything she said, but she's getting tons of support.
Hmm. Yeah. This is one of those rare situations where I actually really appreciate the coverage of Skip Bayless. Usually, Skip Bayless from Undisputed, he has a show with Shannon Sharp. Usually, a lot of what he says is just absolute nonsense. And
Mm.
and these type of guys, just in general, I feel like they love to pile on to black men, especially athletes. But he was sitting at that table and he said, I've been in this business for, he was like 30, 40 years. Let me be absolutely clear. When I look at the details of this situation, there is nothing here that is out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Coaches or people in the staff having relationships with the women they work with is has been commonplace for decades. And
Hmm.
he also made it clear like it's commonplace that these people will have multiple partners. So you might have 3 or 4 guys who are with the same girl. So even if he did actually sleep with the wife of one of the heads of operations or whatever, like, I'm sorry, I just find it difficult to believe that this is the first time that this has happened and that this is some sort of new situation. And yet, it is the first time ever in the history of the league that an organization has treated a head coach like this. How can we not feel like it's racial?
Hmm.
I'm just I'm finding it very difficult to look at it in any sort of other way, especially since it's in Boston. And
I
we
was finna
all
say
know,
racial Boston.
come on
Nah.
now. goes together like come on, America and apple pie. We know how Boston treats black folks as much as Bill Russell tried to do to improve their image. We all know what happens to black folks when they're in Boston. This treatment of a head coach to basically put his story completely out on Front Street and then suspend him for the year and make it clear you're giving serious consideration to taking away this brother's job, completely unprecedented.
Yeah.
Never has happened before in the league. I think it's absolutely disgusting.
That's what leads me to believe that one of those rumors about it could have been an executive's wife or something might have some truth to it. But I was looking at Twitter on some of the reactions, and one of the more popular people, because, or maybe he's popular because of this tweet, because it was funny as hell. He says it's kind of strange that you suspend a coach just for getting bitches. I mean, like why is that even a thing? Why does that even happen? And I don't want to skip over the fact that it's Nia Long here.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of men's dream, this woman. And man, especially the black women have put Nia Long
On a
on
pedestal.
top of this pedestal, on top of the pedestal, on top of a ladder, on top of a bus, anything on top of on top of the Willis Tower.
Mhm.
They have put her in queendom right now. And they are I could only imagine, what if she was totally blindsided by this, and
Mhm.
she got like 300,000 people in her DMs right now, in
Come
her
on now.
in her in her Twitter, in every social media account she has, telling her that her man is pretty much community dick. and they and she's got to sit here and look at all this. I gotta only hope that she has social media representatives who watches her stuff for her, so she
Mhm.
don't have to constantly watch it. But I can only imagine who would want to go through seeing all of this pity text or
Well,
whatever from everybody.
honestly, I feel like, I mean, from the relationship side, if she was serious about dude and she thought she was going to marry him, then obviously this is devastating and it's very painful.
Hmm.
But if she didn't feel that way about him and he was just really something to do, from my perspective, when I look at it, this is probably great for her career because she's mentioned before that she has actually had some trouble getting some roles and that she felt like she was passed over for things she should have gotten. And this blow up and the huge wave that has resulted in social media because of it shows how strong her fan base really is and how passionate people are about her. And so I feel like, if there were things she was trying to do before, she might actually be able to do them now.
Well,
That's
she's already missed out on the Little Mermaid role. I mean, that's gone
wow.
now, so she won't get that one.
Some tells me she'll be all right. She'll be all right. She's probably looking for some different things. But circling back to what you talked about this pedestal that people put her on, right? So, hey, I'm absolutely in the list of people who think Nia Long is absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing, just a stunning, gorgeous woman to look at. That being said, I am not on the list of guys where like she is my, fantasy girl. Like, oh, give me a night with Nia Long. And all the interviews I've seen with Nia Long, from my perspective, it's not just the guys and the women who put her up on a pedestal. She puts herself up on a pedestal. Absolutely. And I'm sorry. I just don't believe that that she's a giver in the bedroom. She comes off as someone who is completely all about herself. I think I think anything you would want her to do that is just about your pleasure alone, you would get virtually nothing from
Come
her.
on now, you
So
ruining a
so
lot of guys'
completely
fantasies now.
from
You
my
can't be saying she
from
a
my
selfish
perspective,
lover. You can't be saying that.
from my perspective, I can appreciate you while at the same time recognizing that nah, it's like the girls who you see twerking, but you
Hmm.
also feel like they probably can't take no dick. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you real good at shaking when there ain't no dick in you,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
know, but I know once we get down to it, all that shit goes out the window. Like, yeah, I'm too old to be phased by just the way you
Oh
look
my
somehow.
god. I gotta think. See, for me, all that fantasy of it being Nia Long, it'll go out the window the very moment she eat like some Mexican food and she blow up the bathroom. Like
Wow.
all that fantasy
That's
just
your
go
thought?
that just goes right out the window. And it's gonna happen to everyone. I don't care when it is. Maybe I wake up early and she lay out a bit fart in the bed. All that fantasy gone. You just a woman now. You out from that queendom. And you know,
Wow.
so you better have more than just that fantasy I've been seeing on TV to hold my attention at that point. so
Wow.
I don't know about the giving thing. I don't know. I'm not as good at catching up on those signals as you may be.
Hey, I see it, brother. I see the selfishness.
But I can tell you someone I feel really sorry for in all of this.
Hmm,
Because like I said, I don't know what the nature of their relationship was. So I don't know to feel sorry for Nia Long
with their
until she
child.
really kind of comes out and says what actually,
Mhm,
how she actually feels about this. And even then, who knows if it's more publicity versus who knows.
mhm.
So who I really feel sorry about is is the woman that they started posting pictures side by side with him
Mm.
on. And I thought to myself when I first saw the photos, like, because there was no, it didn't exactly say that this was the woman. Like
Right.
all the reports kept saying a woman who was on the staff. And so they kept posting this woman who's supposedly a director of something or something or other. I can't even think of what it was. I don't even want to mention her name or her position anyway because I don't
Yeah.
want to persist this.
Right.
But they started dog walking this woman,
I
talking
mean, her
about some,
career might very well be over. The
well, they
Celtics
dog
didn't.
walking this woman, talking about some, how could you go for that instead of Nia Long? You leave Nia alone for that. And I'm sitting there thinking this might not be the woman. Like y'all do realize that y'all can't just go to the team website and and find out every single person that
Come on
works
now.
for the organization.
They don't
You do
realize that.
realize that.
They don't realize that at all.
There's tons of women that work
Mhm.
within the organization. Okay. Now they don't, most of them don't have these high ranking things that are going to get them put on the website, but they have plenty of staff on hand in other areas
So
besides dealing with the basketball part of it.
the problem is that when the Celtics announced this, they specifically said he had a relationship with someone in operations. And so I think people are taking that verbiage and assuming that they can use it to narrow down which specific women he would have been involved with. And
See,
so when
you
I
know,
first when this story first broke, I think there was like three women where they said it has to be one of these three. Why they've narrowed it down to this specific sister, I'm not sure. I don't know how they've come to the conclusion that, oh, it must be her. But I absolutely agree with you. She's getting dog walked on social media right now. Frankly, I feel like there's some colorism involved in it because, like you said, she's a light skinned sister, and Nia Long is very dark skinned, of course. And it's not like there's a whole lot of black women or dark skinned black women who get the kind of shine and recognition that Nia Long has had. So I think a lot of dark skinned sisters, that's part of why they hold her in such high esteem. And so to know that this brother was in a relationship with Nia Long and then decided to cheat on her for some little light skinned girl, I think there's a lot of sisters who are insulted by that. And it's
mhm,
fueling some of this fire. But just in general, y'all, you don't know anything. Nothing has been actually officially announced. Why are
exactly.
you putting the dog walking this woman like that when you can't even be sure you have the right person? But
All right, they
regardless,
picked the only woman they could find on the website.
come on
I
now.
mean, that's all I can think of. That's all they did.
And regardless, to me, it just adds another layer of why the Celtics shouldn't have done this. Because now, not
Hmm.
only you've significantly damaged him But honestly, he'll be all right. Like at the end
Yeah,
of the
he'll
day,
be
he's
fine.
proven he can produce winning teams.
Yeah,
So hell, even if they decide to get rid of him, he can get another job. Like I'm not really all I think he's been treated poorly in this situation. This is unprecedented what they've done. I think it's wrong, but I'm not actually worried about him the way I'd be worried about him if like this was an NFL head coach. But the whatever sister he's been in a relationship with, when that information comes out, her career's ruined. Like they're
mhm,
barely putting women in these positions of power as it is.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
you're basically destroying her for something white people have been doing for decades in the NBA. Like this is not some new shit. This is not something that's out of the ordinary. How why is it okay for you to destroy black lives for something that white folks have been getting away with no problem? No problem, not even
exactly,
a whisper for since before I was born. Like, come on, man.
exactly.
Come on. I find that incredibly repulsive. I don't care if he slept with some executive's wife. It's not the first time some
Oh yeah,
executive's wife has ended up being in a relationship with a head coach for a team. They found a way to deal with it behind closed doors, whatever needed to happen. Y'all could have done the same thing, but you didn't decide that he was worthy of that type of respect despite the level of success the team had last year. That's crazy. That's
yeah.
absolutely crazy.
And maybe he stepped out because, like you said, maybe she not a giver, and so
Come on now.
maybe.
Come on
I
now.
mean, look, at the end of the day, a
Sisters don't
woman's a
want to hear
woman,
that part.
a man's a man. Just because, just because she happens to be famous,
Sisters don't want
just
to hear that part.
it is what it is. And if he's not getting what he needs, now I'm not giving him an excuse for cheating. I'm just saying to put her on the pedestal like they're doing. I
Hmm.
mean, she's a woman just like all these other women out here,
Hmm.
right? There's no difference in that regard. If a man is going to cheat, he is going to cheat.
To be
And
honest,
likewise, if there's problems in the relationship, there's problems. It doesn't matter how much clout, how many movies you've done, TV shows, none of that matters.
I'm not mad at sisters like, yo, they see a sister and they feel like she's been wronged, she's been abused, this dude is cheating on her. I'm not mad at them. It's the brothers that irritate me. Like, why are y'all following behind the sisters and saying the same bullshit? Like, talking about, oh, how could he do this? Like, y'all niggas ain't never cheated on nobody. Stop it.
I know,
Stop
right?
it. Let's be serious. Think back to the reasons you cheated on old girl. And then if you gonna talk on this, be like, hey, these things might have been happening. It ain't because he a bad guy.
Mhm.
Is she a woman like just anybody else? Come on now. Stop it.
Hey, but look,
Stop it.
a serious tip to all the men out there, any woman who's really serious about the cheating game and cheating on their spouse or their loved ones or even having relationships, they don't do it at work.
Come on now.
Guys, come on. Meet these women somewhere else. Stop picking up. Look, I had my mistake in the past of dating someone at work, and it was so awkward
Me too.
when it broke off.
Me too.
You don't need that kind of stress.
You know what? You just opened up a whole new thing that I do feel like needs to be said. Like for the most part, again, my empathy, my heart goes out to the brother. I feel like it was wrong that this happened to him. That being said, like you just mentioned, you a grown ass man. You know better than to enter into an illicit relationship with a woman you work with. That's number one. Number two, come on now. We talking about a sports situation. There are escort agencies set up for these athletes. They're getting sex whenever they want to, and they don't have to leave their hotel rooms. Like if it was to that point where you really, really needed a release, where for whatever reason you need to step outside your relationship, the infrastructure for you to be able to do that in
It's
a way
there.
where it would be private is right there available to you. And you have the funds to take advantage of that and ensure that these type of situations do not happen. Like this was incredibly immature on your part. You do not, I'm sorry. When
Yeah.
I had a relationship, when a woman that I was working with, I was like, what, 21, 20, 22, something like that. Like you do that when you young and when you dumb, and then you
Hmm.
grow up and you never forget those lessons. You do not enter into sexual relationships with women that you work with, and you for damn sure don't enter into sexual relationships with women who work for you. It's
Yep.
always going to end bad. Don't
Yep.
do it. He should
Yep.
know that. He should know. I don't know what his experience has been, but he old enough. He should know.
Yeah. Now watch out for the one or two that come into our comments and say, I worked with somebody and dated them and we married now. Watch out
Get
for
the fuck
those
out of
two.
here, bro.
And you two
That's
people
not the
that
standard.
worked out for is not the standard. So don't even try to come in
Please.
and comment that and think we're
Mm-mm.
gonna let that slide. I'm gonna
Uh-uh.
respond right away to that. So let you know.
Hey, if you've made it this far, clearly you liked the video. Go ahead, hit that like button for us, and go ahead and subscribe. We definitely love to see you again on the channel. We're going to be dropping these videos on a steady basis. Take care. Chicago is coming out with the Safety Act. All right. And the Safety Act basically revolves around getting rid of the cash bail system. And conservatives have been going off. The propaganda machine is in full effect. They are telling anybody and everybody who will listen that this is going to cause thousands of criminals to be released out into the streets, that this is a terrible thing for Chicago. It's going to make all of us less safe. It's just absolutely bananas how crazy they're going about this. But I have some very specific thoughts about why this is happening. But first, I want to hear from you, Hudson. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, like you said there, the conversation is centering around the bail and specifically about the bail, the type of offenses that people think that um, folk are just going to be let just basically they think the whole system's going to be a revolving door. There's rumors that they think that you could physically assault someone and just get a ticket for it. Like these rumors that are going around about this um, are just ridiculous, right? And it's all propaganda. And like you said, Samari, it's centered around this cash bail, but it has nothing to do with the cash bail. It really doesn't. It's the easiest thing that they can use, these conservatives can use to scare the bejesus out of you. I mean,
So,
that's the easiest thing they can use.
So I agree with you that at the end of the day, this is all about fear. And it's also about convincing people that conservative and Republican leadership is more serious about crime. And that's why you should vote for us and put us into power, because essentially these liberals and these Democrats have gone soft and they're just going to let criminals run wild through your streets. But I disagree with you. I definitely feel like the cash bail is actually a central point of this, and that it has a lot of conservatives concerned. So first, let's walk through, why is this bill necessary? It's necessary because across the state, you have an issue where people, mainly brothers and sisters, mainly minorities, let's just be honest, um, will get locked up for oftentimes frivolous charges, oftentimes for things that as soon as they get in front of a judge, it's going to be thrown out. But they have to sit in jail and wait until they're actually able to get in front of a judge, because they have to post bail in order to get out. So essentially, how long you sit in jail is determined by how much money you have. So this has created a situation where jail cells can just fill up with people who are not there for real offenses. They're not there for things that are actually a problem. They're not a threat to anybody. They're not on their way to prison. They're just waiting to get in front of a judge so that their cases can be thrown out and they can move on with their lives, and they're forced to sit there. This bill is going to address that. is going to basically say how much money you have. It's not going to determine whether or not you have to sit in a jail cell for months potentially waiting to get in front of a judge. Now, why does this bill scare conservatives? Of course, they've used this as an opportunity to fear monger, and they've done a great job of that. But why are they afraid? They're afraid because counties across the state have used the bail system in Illinois to prop up their budgets. Many counties in this state will take a percentage of your bail off top. So, regardless of what happens, you don't get all your money back. Almost all of the counties have at least some mechanism in place where if you miss a court date or if some technicality is not met, they get to just hold the bail money that you've paid in order to get yourself up out of jail. And so they're counting on people to essentially have to pay this money, and then they can take it and use it to fund their schools, fund their little sheriff's office. These people's salaries require this bail system to be in place. So by taking that system away, essentially you're telling all of these counties, hey, you've got to figure out how to balance your budgets without imprisoning people on frivolous bullshit. And it's scaring the crap out of them. It's absolutely terrifying these people because they have never had to be in this situation before. The prison industrial complex in this country has only gotten larger and larger and larger. So to be in this particular situation where they're not able to gain more money from imprisoning people and holding people is something a lot of these folks have never had to do. And it scares the shit out of them. And it's why I am such a big fan of this bill.
So, from my perspective, and this is why I don't believe the bail part to really be, maybe there's a county here or there, or a township here and there who would see that as something that they're worried about. But when you look at different sections of this Safety Act,
Mhm.
this is to me what they're most concerned about. And these are the things that they're not mentioning that they want to overturn here, um, such as the standards for use of force and officers being required to intervene if they see another officer using excessive force.
Mhm.
There's no more blank checks on military grade equipment, because at this point they can get any type of military equipment they want without any real oversight. No more with this bill. Specific guidelines on the use of body cameras, along with a class 3 felony if you willingly and knowingly keep it off or turn it off.
Mhm.
Right. It also allows for us as citizens to file complaints without sworn affidavits. And the use of the sworn affidavit has been a long standing thing with police departments to deter people from filing complaints, because with a sworn affidavit, that brings a whole host of problems that could come back to you as the person complaining, right?
Mhm.
So and it doesn't stop there. We're talking about prison system reforms. We're talking about all types of, and when we talk about prison system reforms, we're talking about the real money then.
Mhm.
Now we're not just talking about the cash bail. The cash bail is a drop in the bucket compared to the prison system money that they get,
Mhm.
and would see a whole big overhaul. So there are tons of things in this whole deal that they do not want, and they don't want us to even consider it. They don't want us to know about it. They just want us to think that we're just about to let a bunch of prisoners, a bunch of, never mind that we're just assuming all these people are guilty and we don't want them on the street, you know, but we just want everybody to concentrate on, they're just going to let people who've assaulted folks just come right out, That's all they want us to concentrate on. That's why they want us to concentrate on that cash bail because it's easier for them to manipulate it. While on the back end, this is the stuff they want to make sure does not happen, right? If it was only cash bail, if it was only that, I say, okay, change that. See what happens. They're still not going to want that. They're still going to fight hard against this because there's all that other stuff that they do not want in there.
I absolutely agree that they're afraid of all of it. Absolutely. I just feel like the cash bail absolutely has a significant impact on these small counties who are not sure how they're going to balance their budgets without it. But absolutely, they don't want, they certainly don't want it to be harder for the police to lock folks up. And they absolutely don't want a situation where the police are not going to be held accountable or are now going to be held accountable if they actually see abuses and don't intervene. I have no issues with that
Well, the
whatsoever.
police
I just
departments
don't
are a
believe.
big part of the GOP base. The
Mhm.
police departments, historically have always been a GOP base that they depend on to help campaign for them, to help be out there for them in the front lines. Heck, how
Mhm.
many of them were involved in that little stunt at the January 6th insurrection? How many of those FOP and GOP police officers were there?
Mhm. Yeah, I think what's been really kind of frustrating for me is, being a content creator now, I'm on YouTube a lot more looking at other people's content. And the amount of black people who just fall for the okey doke.
Hmm.
Bunch of white folks say this is something you should be afraid of. This is terrible for black communities. And you got this whole long line of black folks who are lining up saying, hey, you need to be scared of this. This Safety Act, oh, it's going to be terrible for you. It's like, bro, like we are in 2022. How long does it take for you to realize just because a white man with a badge gets in front of a camera and spouts a bunch of nonsense, it doesn't mean that you have to actually eat it hook, line, and center and
Hmm.
sinker and just decide that you're going to regurgitate it now on your platform as fact. It's frustrating to watch, man. It's frustrating to watch.
Well, let's start knocking down some of these. So one of the biggest things is this list of non-detainable offenses that's going around the internet.
Hmm.
First off, those list of offenses that they have there, that is not true at all. Those are not non-detainable offenses. Here's what certain low-level crimes will be issued citations as opposed to taken to jail. We're talking about shoplifting a loaf of bread. That they're not going to bother taking someone to jail for that. Now, these are the types of low-level crimes we're talking about. Okay,
Imagine sitting in jail because you shoplifted something simply because you don't have enough money to bail yourself out.
yeah,
Like for an
and
extended period of time, not for a night, not for a couple of days, sitting in jail for an extended period of time for nonsense just because you are poor.
yeah, we're talking about non-violent offenses here, right? And the person who couldn't afford bread is certainly not going to be able to, like you say, post bail. So they're just going to be sitting there. Not to mention, in under the old system, how long would they be there until somebody even before you even saw a judge for bail, for
Mhm.
consideration for bail. Under this new law, supposedly, I believe it's going to be within 3 days they have to see a judge. So we'll see how that works, but you know, I mean, all the way around, this is a better system. So that's the first thing. There's no such thing with these list of offenses of violent offenses that they're non-detainable. What
The
actually happens is they just take the bail part out. But there's other ways they could still hold them and say if they think you're a flight risk, if they think you're still a danger to someone. So the judges still have the option to hold you in prison. Plus, they can put you on electronic monitoring. Okay, there's a host of things that they can do with this. Okay,
and just to be clear, when a judge decides that someone is a flight risk is actually a very broad legal term. Like it's not like the judge has to have a whole lot of good reasons to say you're a flight risk. We got to hold you. Like that's something they could do broadly and unilaterally. Just like, hey, I don't want to see you going back outside. You're a flight risk. We're gonna hold on to you. Like, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. Republicans and conservatives, they're basically trying to present it as, well, if you don't have this bail system, there's no way to hold these people. That's not based
Yeah.
in reality.
Most anybody can get a Greyhound ticket.
Come on now. Come
Yeah,
on now.
there's your flight right there. So,
Hmm.
I mean, most anybody can do that. Heck, I can walk across the Indiana border right now.
Hmm.
I could go walk there and I'm
Hmm.
gone. So
Hmm.
most anybody's a flight risk,
Come on now.
right? What's the other thing? Here's for they call it the purge law, right? Because supposedly now, since you're not held because of bail, you're going to be out here committing crimes left and right up until it's time for you to go in front of the judge.
Hmm.
First off, you're responsible for any crimes you commit while you're out on the street, whether you're awaiting a trial or not. Just like you're responsible for any crimes you commit in jail while you're waiting on a trial. Okay, so that's first off. So it's not like you have freedom like in the purge where you have freedom for a certain amount of time to do crimes. You do not have the freedom to do that. You're still held to the standard of the law. Secondly, if everybody who was out on bail or not held in jail before their trial started committing crimes like in the purge, we'd all be running for our lives already. Okay, there's plenty of people that's been let out on their own recognizances who have posted bail and they are out on the street. Okay, so
Absolutely.
if we were going to be living in that world, we're already there. Okay, and here's the other thing these suburban towns have to realize is that they keep saying that they're just going to make us lawless just like Chicago is. Chicago has all this military grade equipment. They have it all. Okay,
Mhm.
they have all these ball buster cops who come around and knock heads all day long. Okay, they have all these officers that are denying our civil rights,
Come on now.
right? And are basically locking us up for nothing. We have tons of people getting locked up every day for nothing. The crime is still here. None of that is deterring the crime. What has deterred the crime in your specific community has been the opportunities that you have out there. And the fact that you have places for your children to go and have constructive time while when they're playing baseball, when they're practicing when they have guitar or piano lessons, when they're practicing karate, when they're doing all this fun stuff that
Art,
kids should be doing,
basketball. Mhm.
and have a constructive day. That is what's keeping your crime down, right? Not the police. They take credit for it, surely, but it is not them keeping your crime down. So make no mistakes that Chicago is doing all this stuff that you think police should be doing, and they are making no headway on this crime whatsoever.
And just to be clear, um, I think we need to hammer home the message. It's really not the responsibility of the police to make sure your child is not out there shooting people up, knocking people upside the head, and taking things from them. The community has to be willing to step up. The
Mhm.
community has to be willing to get involved and talk to their kids and be involved with their kids. I get sick and tired of black folks screaming and crying about the police need to do more. There needs to be more police because you don't want to be bothered to talk to a child that's not your own. We
Mhm.
Nothing will change. Nothing will change in our communities until we are finally at the point where we're willing to show empathy and consideration towards kids who are not our own. These kids are walking around with no daddies, with
Mhm.
they got deadbeat daddies, but they got deadbeat baby mamas as well, who are technically they live with them. Technically, these mamas are raising them, but they're not really raising them. These kids need
Yep.
help. They need mentors. They need adult supervision. They need adults who actually care. And all too often, adults in the community now wasn't this way 30, 40 years ago, but now they're only concerned with their own kids. They're only
Yeah.
concerned with what goes on their house, and anything outside of this, they want nothing to do with. And
Mhm.
then when somebody from outside your home shoots one of the children inside your home, you want to get on the mic and complain and talk about how terrible everything is when you spent years doing nothing about it. We have to
Yeah.
decide collectively that there is a responsibility to lift each other up and make things better.
If we
The
keep
police are
ignoring our
not going to
community,
solve this.
it's just going to keep going in the wrong direction. We can't keep ignoring our community. If you're not even willing to speak to the people in your own block,
Come on now.
I see it all the time. Pass by people on your own block won't even speak,
Hmm.
right? Won't speak to the young adults that live right down the street to you, right down the street from you. You know, what do you expect?
Come on now. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, but yeah, a lot of propaganda going on around this. Bottom line, I think me and Hudson are both of the same mind that this bill is actually good for the city, and
Yeah,
it's something that absolutely we should support. And we need to fight back against all this false propaganda that's trying to delude people into believing that it's Armageddon. Like, no, it's only Armageddon for the people who have spent decades hating us and trying to tear us down.
yeah.
Moving on to the next topic, I want to get into a little bit of more global news, but actually still situated in the US this time. So, Brett Favre has gotten himself in a world of trouble. Text messages have come out that seem to pretty clearly show that he's been involved in trying to steal about $5 million in welfare funds out in Mississippi. For those who are not aware, Mississippi is one of, if not the poorest states in the nation and a huge recipient of welfare funds. A lot of people out there who need that assistance. So this is especially ugly. In fact, he was trying to steal that money to fund I think it was a parking lot for the school where his daughter attends and plays volleyball. So just
Yeah, that's
disgusting
where we
all the
want
way
the
around.
welfare funds to go. You
Right,
know, the
right.
parking lots.
Come on
Let's
now.
pave some road here.
Come on now. And
Yeah,
it's a lot of people have been frustrated because they feel like both the media world and the sports and the general sports media world have been ignoring this story, that it has not gotten nearly the amount of coverage that, say, when Mike Vick had the issue with dogs, or
hmm,
certainly not Colin Kaepernick experienced when he was actually in the NFL and kneeling. This doesn't seem to rate at all, even though you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that's involved with this major scandal. And we felt like it was an opportunity to actually take a step back and just talk in general about how the media seems to downplay it when these rich white men who are celebrities or in the public sphere, when it turns out they're involved in fraud, how it seems to barely register with the national media, as opposed to cases involving black celebrities or black athletes that are objectively of a significantly smaller scale, and yet still the media coverage that they get seems to far outweigh what these people are experiencing. So we have Brett Favre now, but there was also Tom Brady with his, I forgot how many millions of dollars in PP loans.
well, it was close to a million. It was
It
like
was
nine
close to a
hundred
million.
thousand
It
or
was
something of that
okay.
nature. Yeah,
So close to $1 million in these loans. And these loans are supposed to be for businesses that are struggling to stay open during the pandemic. There is simply no way you can justify Tom Brady getting $1 million in these funds. Barely a blip about it.
yeah.
Barely any. It certainly hasn't affected his reputation in any
And
way,
just to
shape,
be
form, or
clear,
fashion.
we're not saying Tom Brady did anything illegal.
Hmm.
We're speaking more on the moral aspect of this. Just
Come
to
on
be
now.
clear, it hasn't. There's no suggestion at this point that what Tom Brady did
Colin
was illegal,
Colin
but
Kaepernick
immoral.
didn't do anything illegal, but everybody and
Yeah.
their mama for months on end tried to drill it to the heads of everybody in America that this is wrong. Over
Hmm.
and over and over again on our media stations, we had these announcers coming out talking about how offended they were by what he was doing. So it doesn't have to be illegal for there to be a huge amount of media attention on it. Barely anything about Tom Brady did not impact them at all. Did not they don't even talk about it
Hmm.
anymore. And then, of course, he's not an athlete, but he's certainly still a celebrity. Donald Trump. He's now going through some issues regarding fraud, where his businesses are being heavily looked at, especially in New York. And of course, this is going to get a lot of attention in more liberal circles, but conservatives, who are supposedly supposed to be the main ones who are all about living righteously and making sure that you are living in a moral way. His stuff barely registers. Like, the fraud is just about clearly evident, but we're barely seeing anything about it on their side. Hudson, your thoughts?
You know, and when we talk about this, right? So we talk about $5 million and such of welfare funds that Brett Favre has pretty much stolen from the American people here, the people of Mississippi, and all of that. We're talking about close to $1 million of PPP funds that Tom Brady, while might not be illegal, was definitely immoral when thousands of businesses across the country had to shut down, and he was the only person with a lot of money who took PPP loans, but there were
Absolutely
some
not.
companies who ended up giving it back when finding out that, hey, the funds have pretty much dried up. So some
Mhm.
gave it back so that others could possibly benefit from it. But obviously, small businesses who I believe it was really meant for
It was.
did not see any benefits, while a gajillionaire like Tom Brady, who could easily kept his business afloat in great times of need in our country, could have just gone ahead and did that as opposed to taking this money, right? We're talking about Donald Trump, who grossly inflated. If you listen to the New York Attorney General, what she said was that Donald Trump was in the business of just scamming. Like, he had no legitimate business in New York or even the country at all that made him money. It was the scamming.
Mhm.
Just overinflating his residences, his properties to gain loans to scam and just keep the cycle of scamming going. I don't even know what legitimate businesses he had between 2011 and now, right?
Mhm.
But keep in mind, this means he was doing this while he was coming down on Obama during his presidency. He was doing this all while he was in the White House, right? It
Yeah.
didn't stop when he was in the White House, probably ramped up when he got to the White House, right?
Mhm.
And he's doing it now. So what we seem to have, because the only difference in the reaction is that of conservative white people, right? This is where you get the real difference in reaction, right? Because liberal people, we respond the same way. You have some liberals who say, I hate what they're doing. You have some
Mhm.
that say, oh, we're going to talk about Mike Vitt, but we're not going to talk about what Donald Trump is doing. These reactions are generally the same from all of us,
Mhm.
right? All of us
Mhm.
liberals. But conservatives, they will change with the wind and take the exact same offense, right? They will come down hard on a single mother, right? And it's really an attack on a black single mother, right?
Mhm.
Because that's who they picture when they picture welfare fraud.
Mhm.
They won't say that, right? But that's who they're picturing. They're picturing a black single mother committing welfare fraud, right? And that's who they talk about when it's supposedly costing us all this money and what it's supposed to be for. And it pisses me off because they don't say a word about Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no questioning of even considering taking him off of the Hall of Fame wall.
Absolutely not.
Not even considering it.
What
And
I
this
have,
is about as un-American as you can get.
what I find hilarious that has come out of this is the way Terrell Owens has reacted. He has been on an absolute tear, basically on a daily basis, putting things out about Brett Favre
Hmm.
and basically trying to make sure that this news is absolutely at the forefront. Because from Terrell Owens's standpoint, he's like, you all kept me out of the Hall of Fame when I never did anything even close to this.
Yep.
And let's be honest, Brett Favre was a problematic individual before this happened. Like he was
Yep.
already, for those who are looking at it objectively, he was already kind of known as somebody kind of a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like in fact, I think that's the exact phrase that Shannon Sharp used when he talked about this whole situation. So Terrell Owens is like, y'all gave this guy who just stole $5 million in welfare funds, y'all rolled out the red carpet to let him in. You all ignored
Mm-hmm.
everything that he was doing beforehand to let him into the Hall of Fame. But all of a sudden, it's my turn. And it's absolutely clear without question that I have the accolades to be a part of this group. But you've decided to hold me out because you don't like the way that I taunted. You don't like some of the things that I said.
They didn't like his ego. They didn't like his
They didn't like
attitude.
it.
That's it.
They want their darkies humble.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
oh, you black? Well, you need to be holding your head down. You need to be as humble as possible. Don't give us the idea that you're flashing in any sort of way. Like, no, no. So he's livid. And honestly, I can't blame him. And you know, you talk about the reaction from conservatives. What's crazy to me is these long line of conservatives saying, well, you know, there shouldn't be more sports media organizations talking about this because he's not currently playing. So
Huh.
since he's not currently on the field right now,
Mm.
it's not really sports news. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Come
A
on now.
Hall of Fame quarterback,
Yeah.
one who there are many people still to this day who would claim that he's the greatest quarterback who has ever been in the NFL, has been working hand in hand with the governor, now ex-governor, to steal millions
Hmm.
of dollars in welfare funds from the poorest state in the country. The
Mm-hmm.
idea that is moral in any sort of way for sports media organizations to be essentially ignoring this and instead trying to focus on other things is insane. It is
Yeah.
absolutely insane,
So
especially when you consider that there are text messages. So it's not like this is really alleged. Like we know he did it.
so when we talk about the coverage, let's think about some things that have gotten more media coverage, especially from the sports world, than than Brett Favre's stealing of welfare funds. How about Antonio Brown taking his jersey off and running across the stadium and exiting in the middle of a game?
Come
You
on
know,
now.
so he got tons of attention. How about let's talk about things that didn't happen at a game at all. How
Mhm.
about Charles Barkley and his gambling? That got more media attention, more sports attention than than this whole welfare fund fraud. How about Obama's tan suit got more attention from every facet of the media than, than Brett Favre stealing welfare funds? How about Kaepernick kneeling getting much more media attention
For
than
months.
welfare funds?
For
How
months.
about Jamie Winston, okay, while he was in college, being accused of stealing crab legs? $32 worth of crab legs. Got media attention for nearly 2 years.
Crazy.
Okay, probably almost. I got to look back further. Probably almost kept him out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
Got more attention than stealing welfare funds. No mistake. It is people like Favre. It is the rich who get away with gigantic amounts of fraud in our welfare system.
Mm-hmm.
That's who's getting away with it. Not a single mother of four. Okay, and actually, if there's anyone, because you can do anonymous comments, I'd be interested to know, and I think the people need to understand and really know. If you are any parent who is on any type of public assistance, do an anonymous comment. Say how many children you got and how much you're actually getting from this public assistance,
Come
because
on,
people
man.
need to see. It ain't. No one's getting rich off of this. My
Mm-hmm.
dad was a single father. My dad was a single father, barely making ends meet, and he took welfare so that he could watch me, because he was the only one to watch me. Right? Talk about impossible to get a job that can coincide with going to school and
Mm-hmm.
being able to pick me up or being able to drop me off, or not have to depend on spending all the little money you get from a job to pay people to do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's shameful. I saw a video the other day of people dog walking this woman because she supposedly tried to pay for a manicure with an EBT card.
Mm-hmm.
Dog walking her. That's not what it's for. You shouldn't be trying to do little luxuries if you need welfare in the first place. This and that. Get the fuck out of here.
Come
Because
on, man.
look here, and I will say this to anybody. If it takes, because all it would take probably is 10 extra cents from each of us in our respective states to make this happen. If
Mm-hmm.
if a single mother needs the gift of getting a mani pedi every now and again
Mm-hmm.
to get a break
Mm-hmm.
from having to be a single parent, by all means, take my 10 cents.
Come on now.
I will gladly give it up. And so if you need some extra tax money for that, I will gladly give it up to so that she can go and have some type of spa day every now and again. I
Mm-hmm.
got no problem with that. But our petty asses want to come down because she just wants to get a manicure. Come on. And we don't give a damn about what Favre is doing. It's crazy.
And it comes down to this celebrity worship that people have. A lot of times, especially when it comes to these rich white men, people love to put them on a pedestal and say, well, oh, what he did wasn't really that bad. Like, I absolutely agree with you. Stealing $5 million from a state that poor from their welfare fund is flat out un American.
Mm-hmm.
Taking $1 million of PPP loans that are meant for small businesses that are struggling to stay open during a pandemic where hundreds, literally hundreds of businesses shut down, many of them permanently, is un-American. When there's just no question, not only do you have the money to be able to keep this business afloat without
Yep.
those loans, but you've got more millions coming. It's
Yep.
not like you already made your millions and what you have now, you got to hold on to it because you don't know if you're going to get any more. You know you're getting more sponsorships. You've got another contract
Yep.
next year that's guaranteed to pay you several times more than this $900,000 worth of funds. It is un-American for you to take that money knowing you didn't need it.
Yeah.
And we never see the media put it in those terms.
Yeah.
We never see the media really strike that hammer and say what these people are doing is fundamentally wrong.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I mean, and this money was supposed to pay bills and help with employee paychecks,
Come on,
right?
man.
If you know, I'm sorry, Jeff Bezos, float your own damn company. You've made enough money off the backs of these citizens. Float your own damn company. You don't need it. Elon Musk, you don't need it. Float your own damn company.
It's crazy,
Okay?
bro.
Brett Favre, you didn't need it. Float your own damn company. Okay? If 900,000 was to make it or break it for you in this company, that company's done anyway.
Come on now.
You
And
didn't
if you
need it.
really love it that much, you'll just put up the 900,000. Come on.
I'm tired of these. It amounts to corporate bailouts. I'm tired
Hmm.
of it.
Yeah.
Right? You've been giving all this money to your investors. You've been doing all this and that and these bonuses, these outrageous bonuses, and
Hmm.
you can't float your own company during hard times, then you shouldn't
Ridiculous.
be in business.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what kills me about it. That's what
Hmm.
kills me about it. We're quick to be okay with all these bailouts, barely say a word about it, but we're fine with hundreds of thousands of small businesses just falling under during this. We were fine with it.
It's insane. It's insane.
Hey, folks, just want to remind you, if you like what you've seen so far, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you can be notified on the next episode. All right? Thank you.
So now I want to move on to our very last topic, and this is always going to be our freestyle section. So we'll never know what we're going to put into this. It's just going to be something that interests us that we feel like some of you might want to hear about. And today we want to talk about TikTok trends and the the negative impact we feel like it's having on the country. Or you know what? Maybe it's not a negative impact. I'm a firm believer in natural selection. Some of these people, some folks are not intelligent enough to be allowed to continue living. So maybe we should be thankful for these trends and the fact that they're helping us to weed out some of these folks, who might be a danger if they were allowed to keep
But
going.
most of these folk aren't dying though, so they
Uh,
just getting hurt. And
but you know what? Pain is a great teacher. So that pain might convince them. You know what? Let me not do this
I
again.
wish it was enough.
So I know, I know Hudson has a nice list of some of the trends we've seen over time, but I just want to talk about the one that has come up recently that I'm got to be honest. I think it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm not an old man, but I'm 37 years old. So I've been around the block. I've seen quite a few things in my time. But this, apparently, a new trend has started where people are cooking chicken in NyQuil. And I
Oh,
mean, literally taking raw chicken, putting it in a skillet, pouring NyQuil, turning it on, letting the steam rise and smelling it. And then not only do they put this on a plate to eat, but check this out. They are pouring the NyQuil back into the bottle, which is insane. Now, mind you, there's plenty of people doing this trend who are intelligent enough not to eat the chicken. But unfortunately, you have a lot of, especially young people, or let's be honest, especially old, senile people who do not realize that that's not something that you should do, to the point that the FDA came out with a warning. Y'all, come on now. The FDA decided that there was a risk to public health and decided it needed to directly say, hey, y'all, cooking chicken and NyQuil, not healthy for you. This can result in sickness or it could be flat out fatal. There's a bunch of these little videos, but when you watch it, to just see raw chicken being drowned in NyQuil and then fried essentially, it is absolutely disgusting. I have no idea who thought of this. I have no idea why it would become a trend. Why would somebody else would see this and say, "Hey, this is something I should definitely do as well." It's just absolutely repugnant. Hudson, your thoughts?
Well, first off, there's not even any flour or egg wash involved, or no, so they just throwing the chicken in there, and so I all jokes aside, this is perhaps the well, at least, and it's not often I'm on TikTok,
Hmm.
so I'm sure there's much more crazier on there that probably maybe hasn't caught on or something, but this thing's like I don't even know who would think of it, and any person who fries chicken, you don't throw away the grease right away. So I guess I understand why they pour the Nyquil back in.
Oh, come on now, bro. No, I don't get it.
you
Why
know,
are you
but
putting salmonella into your NyQuil bottle?
man,
Stop it.
I'm hoping that they're not using that Nyquil for
Come on
any
now.
purposes other than to pour it back into that pan and cook the chicken. But it's like I guess what I don't understand about these TikTok challenges, like you say, a lot of people are cooking the chicken and not eating it. Then I don't understand the challenge, right? What
Hmm.
you know, and sadly, I could understand it more if they were actually eating it and going, it's like that's the biggest challenge. Now supposedly there's a possible danger with even smelling these fumes
Right.
from
That's why
from
the
cooking it.
FDA came out to warn it because they're like, even if you don't eat it, it's still a danger to you just having those fumes come up, dummy.
Right. But it's not like these same dummies who are doing it didn't know that in the first place anyway.
Come on now.
So they didn't know the fumes would be a problem anyway. So I would think that they would eat it. Now, this would make a little more sense to me. But to just cook it and show it put it
On a
on a
plate.
plate and then just show it,
This
like
bluish green color on this raw chicken because they ain't even cooking the chicken all the way through. They ain't even cooking it right. So it still looks like raw chicken with just a bluish green tint.
so
Disgusting.
it's like what's the challenge then? What I mean, we've all when we were kids been dared to eat things, and I've
Hmm.
never taken that dare to eat something. Never have. I can't do it. You can't dare me to eat dirt, bugs, none of that. I was
Hmm.
not that kid. Like nah. I only put food in here. Perfectly cooked food, if it's
Hmm.
supposed to be raw, that's fine. But no, you're not gonna catch me. So I don't understand that period. But
Hmm.
if you're gonna do a challenge, I just don't get what supposedly this challenge is if you're not going to show yourself taking a bite of it.
Right.
It doesn't so in that respect, it really makes this whole thing not make sense to me.
It's not like when they were stacking up crates. Like you could at least understand that they were running up the crates and then they were running down the crates. So at least you saw, okay, there's a challenge and this challenge has been completed.
Right. That
Hmm.
is a challenge of agility, it's a challenge of, stamina, whatever the case.
Hmm.
Which clearly I don't think I've seen a video yet where anyone succeeded in that crate challenge. And I'm actually surprised that I don't see a lot of broken necks or anything of that nature from it, because
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine falling on one of those crates. But
Hmm.
anyway, I see at least I see, like you say, the purpose in that. I see what the challenge is.
Test
I
of agility.
but 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 this challenge is just to cook chicken in NyQuil. That's the challenge. And it's a challenge that anyone can complete if that is the challenge. Yes, I could go get NyQuil and cook chicken in it. Yes, I
well,
can complete that easily. So why is this considered a challenge?
well, it's not. So there are TikTok challenges, and then there are TikTok trends where everybody's kind of doing the same thing, and it's really there's no way to fail at it. Now some of these trends I've actually been big fans of. Like they had the silhouette trend, where you had a bunch of thick sisters getting in these little silhouettes, putting their TikToks up. That was fantastic. They had some other challenge where sisters would they be in like regular kind of bummy clothes, like sweatpants or whatever, and then they crouch down, and all of a sudden everything's jazzed up. They got their makeup on and all that. I forgot the name of that trend, but that was fantastic as well. But yeah, these challenges on TikTok, most of the time, they're getting people to do really, really stupid, oftentimes dangerous things, really, really dangerous things. And of course, a lot of times it's kids doing them. So it's just really, really scary to watch. And it makes me afraid for what it's going to be like when my daughter comes of age and she gets more exposed to social media. What kind of nonsense am I going to have to open up my phone and see her doing that's just going to make my heart stop?
Well, even in these trends that you mentioned, not everyone looks good in a silhouette, right? So that's a trend where you have to complete something, and the sort of trend is to, hey, I got a good looking silhouette here.
Hmm.
Like, I could have did that. You would have seen this dad belly right here all out, and I'm sure a lot of people would have enjoyed it. At least that's something. That's the trend with the jazzing up. Not everyone
Hmm.
looks good jazzed up because they
Right.
don't know how to jazz up.
Right.
So even in those trends, you're accomplishing something
Hmm.
that still not everyone can, at least while they can do it, they can't do it well.
Hmm.
And there's some sort of purpose to it in those trends. But
Right.
this, even as a trend, still makes no sense. Still
It's
makes
hard to
no
watch.
sense.
It's hard to
Yeah.
watch.
I
And unfortunately, TikTok is revealing a lot about our culture and about our country in general in ways that I think is terrifying to a lot of people.
Well, when I think of what the internet could have been,
Hmm.
and when I think of what social media could have been, and not that I think the creators of MySpace and Black Planet were necessarily thinking of this stuff, but
Hmm.
I think of challenges such as solve the equation for time travel, and all these great minds just work on and do a little bit more of the formula and pass it on. I'm thinking of
Hmm.
great things like this,
Hmm.
and we got people trying to eat corn with a drill and busting their teeth. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I miss TikTok when it was, and I never really got into TikTok, but I
Hmm.
miss when it was just the dance challenges.
Right.
I miss it when it was just that.
Hmm.
You do a little
Hmm.
dumbass dance and everyone tries to do it, and there you go. I miss that. Bring that back and let the rest of this go, because we're not going to survive this way.
Yeah, it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to watch. But that wraps up the last of our topics. Hope all of you enjoyed the show. Hope all of you had a good time and learned something. We definitely enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next show. Until then, I am Samori, and with me, as always, has been Hudson. Hope all of you have a fantastic day. Take care.
Peace out.